me some
Jack
free
Daniels gives
shit.
us $6,000 an episode. And to not even mention it, we're just drunk on Jack Daniels.
Every
So it's
episode is like all our names featuring Jack Daniels. You're
Yeah.
actually part of
Is
the
that your
podcast.
guys-
Like they're the guest. You're part of it.
Yeah.
Is that your guys' pregame?
Well, yeah, crystal meth for a couple days. What we'll do is a couple days before the podcast,
Okay.
we'll start doing crystal meth, you know?
Okay.
And it's like we'll have an argument sometimes, Mike and I, about whether we want to smoke it or shoot it or whatever.
Sure.
So he likes the hot rails. Do you know what hot rails are?
No, I mean, by all means.
So
let me know, let me
crystal
know.
meth's interesting because it's one of the only we can cut this out if we have to. It's one of the only drugs that you can kind of ingest however.
Okay.
You can smoke it, you can eat it, you can snort it, you can shoot it, you can put it in your ass. Like genuinely, it's like you get this stuff in you, you're
Yeah.
high. It's crazy how like the bioavailability, I think the word is. It's too smart for me, but you know, it's very effective.
Yeah.
Hot rails are people who I learned this on intervention, but they'll take a long glass tube, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll heat up the end with a blowtorch, only one end though. And then they'll have the crystal powder, right?
Okay.
And they'll snort it, but it's so hot that they'll snort it and then blow out smoke because it just vaporizes and they're smoking it through their nose. Technically, it's called hot railing.
Bioavailability is a word. By the way.
Yes, thank you.
There you
Okay,
go.
yeah.
Fact
I don't know if it's
check.
the word I was looking for.
There you go.
It's defined as the extent and rate which an active substance, such as a drug or metabolite, enters the
Nailed it.
systemic circulation, thereby accessing the site of action.
I'm the drug guy. You guys,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
you
that's
have a
all.
drug question, I'm the guy. You know,
You're
Drug
that guy.
and sex. Drug and sex.
drug and
Is there a word, like a compound word for drug and sex?
drug and sex.
Ooh, that's not good, probably, because like I'm just thinking of roofies, and that's obviously not the.
Yeah, no,
But
no.
then maybe
consensual,
ecstasy? Do people
consensual
do
sex
ecstasy? Like,
and drugs.
Yeah.
I know that the people they call it like P&P, party and play. Or you're
Oh.
gonna, willing to do both. Like
Okay.
The problem is, like, if we're at the point where like people who are both drunk can't give consent, now we're in a weird place, right?
Well, the drunken consent thing's interesting. That's a tough one, you know.
Very tough.
That's a tough one because it's like
You're both young, horny adults
Yeah.
that then have sex with each other, but then later you could decide, I don't know, I
And let's just say
say
I'm a severe alcoholic, and every single day I'm hammered drunk. So it's like if any time anyone has sex with me, it's like a crime, you know.
That
It's
is
just
true. Yeah, I
there's
mean,
this interesting ideas around that where
It
it's
is.
like obviously it's one of those things that's hard to put in black and white.
Yep.
Because you know if you're taking advantage, you know if you're doing it, you know what I mean?
Exactly,
But
yeah.
it's so hard to say in black and white, like, okay, well, this person was doing it. Because you could be willingly doing that with someone, you know?
That's very
That's the
true.
thing about the Diddy stuff. Diddy's like, these people wanted to do this, you know? People wanted to do the drugs. They wanted to have sex. He's like, what? I'm not making these, you know? So that's like,
that is just such mind-blowing stuff. Like, when
Yeah.
you hear about everything, it's crazy.
it is crazy. Dude, there's like never a dull moment in the media, man. There's never a dull moment. So what's going on with you, dude? Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks for being here, brother.
Oh yeah.
My
Like I
brethren.
said, yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, man, big fan, and then happy to finally be on. And,
Yeah, you knew you'd be on here.
Yeah.
You knew
finally
you'd be on
making
here
it
chopping it
So,
up.
yeah, man. Like I said, love the setup. Everything's looking great.
Thanks, brother. We're
And then
doing our
you
best.
two handsome gentlemen are looking as stunning as ever. So.
Thanks, man. I didn't give myself a look, so I do appreciate that.
No,
He
you
looks
got
all
it.
right.
You got
But thank you. Thank you for being
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, it's just life, man. And then I mean, whenever you hear it, it just once when you get into the whole kids and marriage, and then it just keeps you busy, man.
Oh
keeps
yeah,
you busy.
yeah. I mean, it becomes its own universe.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, and then it's like being in the military can prepare you for a lot, but not being a dad. You know, like that's what's. It's like you could do. Yeah, it's interesting. You know,
Yeah.
like
So like the whole thing is like, so I try to tell people, they're like, oh yeah, man, how's it being dad and everything? I was like, listen, in all my years of being like when I was in Iraq, and then I was there for 14 months and on deployment, everything, I said, being a father, being a parent is 100 times harder
Oh yeah.
than going on a mission. Like, cause I was like, and then they're like, really? Like, why? And I was like, think about it. Okay, I have to go on a mission.
You're like,
and when we go out
during one, there's a kid.
Well,
during
there.
the other one, there's
There,
not. No. So yeah, go ahead. So you got like what could be so
God.
different?
Yeah, so the whole thing is like the mindset is like, okay, when I go on a mission, it can range 3 to 5 days up to a week. The longest mission was a month, and they call it going outside the wire. Like anytime that you go outside the wire,
Which is was outside the base.
yeah,
basically?
outside the base. Yep. Then you're going into the danger.
Right.
And then and so anyway, I was like, but I know mentally, 3 to 5 days. I just got to survive, do what I got to do, and then I come back, and then whatever. You're back for 2 to 3 days.
You get some reprieve.
Yeah.
A reset.
Yeah, a reset.
A base camp where it's solitude and peace.
Yeah.
Real quick, how old were you during these?
So when I deployed, I was 19 years
19.
old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yo.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's back up for a second.
Oh yeah.
What made you want to join? Genuinely.
Okay,
Let's just
so
be honest, because I don't
yeah.
care what it was.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
No, so it's,
Could have been a Toby
it's a
Keith
great
song.
story. No,
Or relatives? That's another one.
So I did have a lot of family in the military, so that did help. But so the whole thing was growing up, as I started to get closer, that are you going to go to college?
Yeah, all
what are
the
you going to
pressure-
do?
all that
and everyone's
pressure.
like doing that pressure on you, and I was like,
which, by the way, you're a child.
yes,
Everyone's like, make the biggest
It is
choices of your life
now.
as a child.
Here's-
Yeah,
you-
by tonight.
The funnier part is you don't know all the jobs. There's a
You don't
million
even
jobs.
have a clue
You're like,
of
hey,
the options.
you know
No.
like 3 options. Why don't you pick one? There's a million of them.
Exactly.
The fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's like the kind of pressure. So then, you're freaked out. You're trying to figure it out. And then, so my dad, he owns this industrial painting company. And at the time in the summers, when I was like 16 or so, I'd go over work the summers. Fucking brutal work, dude. And I was like, fuck this. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to do this
Right.
at all.
That's interesting though. So you did it enough to know, like, nah, fuck
Yeah,
this.
yeah. I'm good. And then I was like, college.
You're like, I'd rather kill
not,
people
Not there.
than paint industrial.
Yeah. So then I was like, and then college, I was like, dude, I don't want, like, school wasn't doing it for me.
So it's just out of the options. You're like,
Yep.
yeah.
And then I had this recruiter coming to school, and it was this ranger, so like basically like this badass recruiter. And then he came up to me, he was like, hey man, you want to jump out of planes, kick down doors, and kill people? And I was like, I mean, that sounds kind of cool. He's like, come to my recruiting office. And then like, so he had like pictures, and then he had a
Pictures of
mustard
what?
stain. Like, so when you have jump wings and you go to airborne school and you do a combat jump, you get like the star above your airborne.
Okay.
And then it's just called a mustard stain because they have it in orange.
Oh, I thought
like
you meant a
mustard.
legitimate mustard
No,
stain for
God,
a second.
no,
Okay.
no.
Okay. I was
You're
looking
good,
at
you're
that's
good,
an
you're good.
interesting detail to remember
You're
about
good,
this
yeah.
guy.
Yeah. So then my recruiter, then he was showing me these pictures. They overtook this fucking palace, and like they were showing like all the cars that they impound from the
All these cars
Iraqis
that
and
don't
everything.
belong
and
to you.
Yeah, dude. All
Showing you shiny pictures
Beamers,
is so
Lambos, and
funny.
everything. Like they overtook a palace and everything, and I was like, holy shit! And I was like, dude, this looks badass.
I would love
like,
a palace.
Yeah.
I've never been in a Ferrari. Yes, I'll join.
I mean, I can whip that around. Like, why not? Why not?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. That sounds
Was
pretty
it? Was
cool.
that? I guess that recruiter's for a specific branch.
That was Army, yes.
Right.
So he was Army, and then
Because
so
there's
he
other
was-
recruiters probably coming in too, huh?
Yeah, that's when they come into our high school, and then they all talk to
They
everyone.
start praying on
and
the
then,
innocent.
Yeah, they start
Yeah.
praying, dude. They start
Yeah,
looking,
yeah.
and then at the time, like I just didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew college wasn't it, and I knew that working for my dad wasn't it. So I was like, I
And
don't
you
know what
had
to do.
someone there going, "Hey, come here."
Yeah,
You know, I'm just
yeah,
saying those
that's what they
recruiters
did.
work. You know what I mean? Like if someone was there going like, "Dude, come to college. Look at all this," showing
Yeah.
you pictures of pussy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what that guy didn't show you? Pictures of pussy. It's like you'll see a lot.
That's where I got set up for failure there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I went and brought me over, that after I saw and I was like, all right, you know what? I think I'll do it, man. Like I'll join. At the time, do you remember Chris Geiger at all?
Yes.
So he was all about it with me. Like him and I guess were the closest during like that time. And then he was like, dude, I'll join with you.
That's
So
always
then-
so helpful. We've had somebody else say that. They did it with a buddy.
So
That's gotta
then
be helpful.
we're doing it and everything. Like we're training and everything. And then like then at the very end when it came to sign, like he bailed out. And then I was like,
Wait, back up. He went to what with you? Basic training?
So at the recruiting station, you can do like PT and then like just like the prep you.
It's like a pre-boot camp.
Oh,
Yeah.
like
okay.
a pre-boot
Did not
camp.
know
And then
about
just to
that.
see if you're into it and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And then so we were
Ooh,
doing
that
it.
seems like
and then
counterintuitive if you're trying to trick people. Well, maybe they're not trying.
well they want you to make sure you know this is what
Yeah.
you want to do.
Yeah.
And then him and I would go to my dad's house and we'd run the steps like freaking Rocky
Yeah. Were you
style.
already exercising and working out and stuff back then?
Kind of like I mean
Yeah.
I played baseball but not for the just rec, and then I don't know, I was more just skateboarding, and then
Yeah.
like Mike C knows, and we're just having a good time. So not really,
Just hanging.
not
Well,
the
'cause
most
you've
peak
been-
athletic shape.
Well, I just
so.
know you've been, big for a long time. You know.
And then that. Thank you on that. But yeah, that was more so. That was all from the Army, and then yeah, because Mike knows I was like as skinny as that rail blow away, and then
He was a
the
rail.
gust of wind.
Really?
He was a rail.
I don't
yeah,
even
he
recall
was
that.
tall,
Maybe I didn't
so
even know you then, right? Because I think I met you.
The only time, no, because we were at
I met
Ed
you at that
Marchick's
gay
house.
orgy. Oh,
No,
Ed
not-
Marchick.
I mean, that was another time.
Dude, shout
Come
out.
on, man,
Wait,
we're on a podcast.
dude, the orgy
We're
was at
gonna
Ed's.
call that-
Dude, the God made him blind. Dude, that's terrible. We gotta edit that part out. Can you write down this? Nah, never mind. He'll never hear it. He ain't gonna see it. That's for goddamn sure. Dude, okay, so you were hanging out with Ed back in the day too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
my memory's
back in the day. So
faded
and I
about-
remember with
So
you-
pre-heroin.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
probably
that could have been
During
very
heroin,
questionable.
probably
that time.
during, yeah.
But and that's when I first met you. Was during that time.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. My memories of you come from like Solly, come from like after, because
Yeah.
that's when I
I mean, and then the biggest thing was
and I mixed them
remember.
up.
Yeah. Well, remember with you because remember the crack shack.
Yes.
So when we lived at my
Not an
parents'
actual.
house, not yeah, that's what I'm
You have
saying.
to
So at my
specify on
parents'
this
That's a
house-
good
podcast.
point. That's a good point.
Yes, thank you. So to clear it up, because people are
Yeah. Let's
freaking
be
wondering
clear
here. So back in so when I was in
The
11th
crystal meth was a joke.
But the crack wasn't. He was
yeah,
huge
no,
on
actual
crack. He was
crackheads,
huge
yeah.
on it. Couldn't get him
the
to
crack
stop.
was not. The crack.
He
was
loved
not.
it.
Oh man! So my parents, when I was in 11th grade, they moved to the house, and then and they had this pavilion, but the pavilion was in kind of rough shape. And then my dad, like, he got guys like kind of paint it up and spruce it up and make it really nice. And if you ever been to my dad's old house, which you both have, is you go down like a half a mile of a gravel road in the woods. It looks
Oh,
like fucking out of
yeah.
a night, or like where Batman would drive his freaking Batmobile down, like that kind of shit, or a horror movie, whatever, however you want to describe it. And then once when you get there, it kind of opens up into a cul-de-sac. And then once when you get to the
It's a pretty cool little
cul-de-sac,
spot. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
fucking cool when
yeah,
you think
then
about
it
it
was on
now.
the water, and then there was only 6 homes, and then and they were further back, and then there was this pavilion there, and then we just called it the crack shack because when we first moved there, I mean,
That's
it was
what it
run
was,
down.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
run down. Then my dad, like, he fixed it, put light, like he did phenomenal work on it, and then that just kind of turned into our party place.
Yeah.
And then my parents, they always had the mindset of just, well, if you're gonna party, I'd rather it be here. And then my mom would go, as you guys know, and she would always tell everyone, like, everyone can stay here. You do
Oh,
not
yeah,
have to
that's-
leave.
yeah.
So I would always throw parties. And then if you remember this, Anderson, when you came into my house, do you remember the chouch?
Well, the challenge. That's what it was called. I
You
was
made
telling
that
him-
up. You made that up. So at my parents' house, so there was
I was
this
speaking
chair.
on this right before the
it was
podcast.
this
where I used
chair-
to sleep at a yeah.
Yeah, it was this chair couch thing. And then
Like a Chase Lounge,
yes,
basically?
yes.
That's
Or-
the more
That's
appropriate
the-
Is
name.
that what it's
Appropriate
actually
word.
called, or is it like some
Probably.
weird?
could be.
I have no
I
idea.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
have
don't
no
know.
idea.
Interesting.
So anyway, so then you went.
It was uncommon. I knew
Yeah.
that.
So when it came time to sleep time, and I was like pointing at everyone, and then Anderson's like, "What's that?" And then I was like, I don't know what it's called." He's like, "That's a chouch," and I was like, "Well, you can sleep on the chouch."
Yeah,
and then
the
and then
little
ever
chair
since
couch.
then,
that was
then
my
the
spot.
chair couch. Oh yeah, that was always your spot. So every time that you'd hang out, you'd just sleep on the couch.
It was nice. It kind of like hugged you,
Yeah,
and it made me
yeah,
feel
that was your
secure and
spot, so
safe,
yeah. And then I remember just coming down the next day and just covered in bodies of just everyone just sleep. So yeah, that was
What a good time.
that was a good time. A
What
lot
a
of
good mom. Good
Yeah,
mom.
yeah,
She
she was
knew we were gonna party.
yes, that was the whole thing.
That's always a tough line as a parent,
Circumvent it.
because other parents get mad at that. They're like,
Sure.
"This is a shitty parent." Yada
Yeah.
yada yada.
Yes.
Also, we weren't that young, were we? Like 10,
I was in the
11?
11th grade.
well, yeah.
Okay,
I did
yeah.
not
No, it was
realize
older.
you
No, it was
just got
11th
there at
grade
when I
11th
moved
there.
grade. Really? I thought you had been there for your entire life. I didn't realize you. Had
I was
just
in
got
Chestnut
there.
Hill Cove, and then we moved there, and then I've been there ever since. And then seeing when they moved there, but yeah, so it was just nice, like just having a safe place, and then that's where we would just always go all the time. And then
Rewind.
Yep.
Sorry, back up. Fast forward. You sign up. The guy signs up.
Yeah.
He's training
So-
with you in like pre-PT.
yeah, so then we're at my parents' house, running the steps, and
You guys are
everything, and
rah-rahing
he's
each other,
all like,
talking about it.
Yeah. And then he's all freaking ready to go, and then all of a sudden it comes to the day, and then
Mm,
he
commitment's
just
a
he just
motherfucker.
backs out, And then
You don't know what movie he watched that night, dude. Maybe he watched Saving Private Ryan. And he was just like, nah,
yeah,
dude,
that's
nah,
all I could take.
nah.
I'm gonna pass.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass. Not me. And then so whatever. I just still committed to it because I was like, dude, whatever. I don't.
Were
care.
you like mad at him or frustrated or what? No, you were just like,
It's
it
all
is what
good.
it is.
It's all
whatever.
good. As you've gotten seen for a long
Really?
time.
I appreciate that.
Nah,
but
like,
I would
for
have
me,
been pissed.
I understand that it's a huge life decision. And then if you guys remember at the time, that was around the peak of the war.
What war?
The Iraq War.
Oh, that's right. I've heard of
Yes,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So that has a lot
So
to do with
during
it
that
too,
time-
public sentiment and everything.
So then during that time, because they just needed, we both
You're like, they
chose
need
to
me.
do so then there was a thing. So in the military, because I was saying you had a few veterans on, but so you like your MOS, like that's your job. So
What's
when-
MOS? We don't even know, right?
Yeah, you got.
Yeah, that's an acronym for whichever, just in a civilian term, is what job you're going to do in the military.
Okay.
So I chose 11 Bravo, which is infantry.
Which is the lowest rung
front
on the ladder?
lines.
Well, no. There's like cooks and
Oh, you can choose to be a cook?
yeah,
Just like
Pretty
right off the
sure.
jump?
yeah.
Wow, I guess I never
Yeah.
really thought about it. I guess are they also killing people or they're just cooking?
Hell no, they're cooking.
They're just cooking?
They're just cooking.
That's interesting. I
Yeah.
guess I just assumed that everyone in the military was like also
Dude,
you know?
Imagine being in the military back in the day and you just hit the drum. You know what I mean? Like you don't got a gun.
dude,
maybe
yeah,
you
fuck.
maybe you have a gun, but I doubt
You
it.
got
Yeah.
me fucked up.
So here's
Ain't no way.
so it's kind of
We
like
needed them.
like a little like pet peeve of mine that like I really doesn't frustrate me too much, but it was like one of those things is like at the peak of the war, and then when I went and joined, and then I hear everyone that says like, yeah, man, I've been to Iraq or Afghanistan, and I was like, and people just say, oh, well, thank you for your service, thank you everything, and then I like since I was in the infantry and everything, and then I was like, oh, well, then what was your job? And then you find out that they're a cook,
Yes.
a mechanic, or anything.
When
and then I'm
someone
like,
who's actually been in the thick of it a little, you know?
like
and
again,
they're-
their job is appreciative. Like
Yes.
they do. It is a collective team. I'm not shitting on
Of
anyone.
course,
I'm
but
not
it
shitting
isn't
on
the sa-
anyone.
it isn't the
but
same
when
thing.
you kind of
Well, you're
just
portraying
set
it.
people
You're-
like
exactly. You're portraying it away. It's
Thank
not
you.
quite.
That's all I'm
it's
saying.
not quite stolen
When you
valor.
go, like,
It's just like exaggerated valor.
I mean,
exaggerated air drive on that.
Yeah.
I
So-
hear what you're saying, but part of me is like, yeah, well, they also were just maybe the smarter people that were just like, I don't want to die, but I do want to get paid by the government for the rest of my life. How do I do this without?
Yeah, but
Oh,
think
hell yeah,
about
I'm
it. If
not-
you're
I
a
mean-
cook, how are you going to kill any innocent
Yeah.
brown
None.
kids?
No,
You're not.
That's not your point.
Your
point
is
is just, I want money.
100%. You're going to be in the clear. And Mike, it wasn't even anything on that. I was just saying like how they kind of like want to receive like a
A pat on the back a bit.
yeah, and I guess I would see it more so when I would go out to bars and stuff, and then
Mhm.
like
People are in there
dudes
for
just trying to
keys.
talk to the girl. Oh,
People are in there. Dude, I'm sure you see that type of
Jeez.
shit where it's just like, this is so clearly unnecessary. Sometimes it makes sense, you know? And then
no,
sometimes.
it doesn't make sense. But yes, I know what you're saying.
Okay, good. Because honestly, low key, I feel like it never makes sense. But I've told
Yeah.
myself there might be doing something I'm not aware. Okay,
No.
so no.
They're just trying to like.
Okay, just making sure.
The only time that you would ever see me in a uniform would be at the airport because then they know that you're military, like in the card or anything. Now during that time, and then so it would help during the flights or any cancellations or anything. But outside of that, you do not need to wear your uniform
Right.
anywhere. Now, if you're at a
Anywhere.
wedding and then you're active duty, sure, and that's fine. But like anywhere that you see, just like if they're at work or anything, but
Well, that's
more
what
so
I
for
wonder.
the
confused.
cloud or
I
like
wonder if
or
they're
like
The wedding thing? Why do they? What? They would have to be active duty, and then they can wear their. Wait, that's a thing.
okay, so
I've
yeah,
never
so
seen
if
this.
you're active duty military, then you can wear. Dude, they changed the names of them. So mine were just
Yeah.
so there's like class blues, class A's. I mean, they kind of changed the name. They changed up the uniforms. But if you're active duty and you go to a wedding, then it's like you can wear your classic, like your dress up uniform, that dress up one.
Right.
Then you can wear that to a wedding or like a funeral or, or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
to that
yeah.
extent.
But between you and me,
Yeah.
like that's not necessarily because they're afraid something's gonna happen and they want to already be dressed up. That's
Fuck
like
no.
mostly just so like they can show status of who they are.
Dude, if they
No,
thought
if
something
you're
was.
if you're active duty, and then that's just like like I'm protecting and serving my country at the time.
So have you gone to a wedding like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the whole thing with that is a cool story was that
Mike was about to shit on it.
I didn't know
Let me
if
see
No.
you're
the
being a
side.
douchebag and like, hey,
No.
this is
I
something
know what
that
Mike's saying.
this is my personality trait.
Sure.
Okay,
Blah blah
Mike.
blah. Here it is.
Mike,
Fuck
what
it.
I was
I
trying
get it, I
to
get it.
point at, I guess when I was trying to tell people is like, there's a difference between if you're like trying to gloat about it or like trying to be something, but if you're at an event, that's what I'm trying to say. Funeral
Yeah, if
or,
you don't
or
feel
a
like buying
wedding,
a suit.
that is fine. That is
Yeah.
normal. Instead of a suit, you just come in your uniform.
Legit. You put your
That's
life
all,
on the
that's all.
line.
There-
for
there's
that.
it's a
no-
I
lot
get
more
that.
There's no
acceptable
nothing-
than
yeah.
like just being at the bar, unless you're Navy in
You're
the
not
whites
even
or
allowed
something.
to do that. But anyway, that's yeah. So at the wedding, when you're asking about the wedding, my cousin got married, and I was coming back from Iraq, and I did a 14-month deployment. So before the deployments were kind of all over the page, and then when I deployed,
What do you mean with like where they were at or duration or
the
what?
duration.
Okay.
So when I deployed, it was a 12. It was supposed to be a 9 to 12 month deployment. So then when we deployed, then we got extended, and they did that across the board to anyone that was getting deployed over there. Because during that time, we were doing, we were part of the surge, and my unit. So I was in the 82nd, and then I was airborne infantry, but that was like our unit 82nd. And we were attached to the final surge into Iraq to that they were transitioning over to the Iraqi army to take over. And they wanted them to like patrol and
From the
take-
Taliban or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then when we were there, so then our whole thing is we don't know how long you're going to be there. Could be 9 months, 12 months, or you get extended. And then the majority of the time you got extended.
Now, did you get to stay with the crew that you got deployed with, or did you guys just get separated? Like when you're
No,
out
yeah,
there?
you stayed with your like so the way that the army is established is that like you have your company that you get assigned to.
Right, which is 82nd Company, right?
Well that's a unit.
Okay.
So you have your unit, then brigade.
So it goes like
yeah, so I guess in
I need
order.
to see the umbrella.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, the umbrella.
Yeah.
So you get your unit is at the top.
Right.
Then the brigade, then there's a certain amount of brigades. And then from there, then you get assigned to your company.
Damn.
And then from there, then it just goes into the positions from there.
Like groups and positions.
Yeah. So like my whole thing was I was in the 82nd, 2nd Brigade of Alpha Company of the 2504.
That sounds so confusing.
You heard
Holy
that shit, but look, people like him are like they want to say that shit because it's like this is my it's almost like a
Yeah.
it's like an LA gang member being like I'm from Crenshaw.
Oh yeah,
Well, I would
It's
push
just like
back
essentially,
though. I would
yeah.
push
Essentially
back
the
though
same.
because he said it was B company. No,
Alpha. Hey.
Alpha. Hold on. Say all the things you just said one more time.
Okay, so the 82nd.
Right.
So 2, we were at the 2nd Brigade of the Alpha Company.
I think you heard
of the
second.
Second brigade,
2504.
probably why. That's
2504.
probably what I heard. That's probably what I heard.
Yeah,
But
and then
say the rest of it though, because there was like multiple. It's like a whole mouthful of fucking words you said.
it is
82nd unit.
Yep.
Then there's the brigades. And there's lots
So
of
the
brigades,
2nd Brigade.
Yeah.
Second
then that's the
brigade is
2.
probably what I heard.
So then that's the 2.
Okay.
And then we were at the 504. That's just the company.
And it's
And then
the
out
New,
of
New
that-
Orleans area code from Lil Wayne.
Oh yeah. Oh, true.
How
We'd
many
love to
people
see
are
it.
in control of one company or what you just
So
described?
what I was in, so you have all right, so out of my company, then you have the first sergeant. I'm sure if that sounds like a similar rank or if you've heard of that rank.
Sure.
The first sergeant and the captain are in control of that company.
Mm.
After that company, then you have the battalion sergeant, which, like I said, we were at the 504. So that was the battalion of the 504. That's just, then you have the command sergeant major, and then that's of the entire unit.
I'm lost. Let's go
Yeah,
back to
it's
this.
fine.
Oh,
So you
Don't
went
worry
you
about
went to
it. It's all, yeah, that's all my, don't worry about it.
you went
Sure.
to the wedding. You came back from Iraq.
So we were trying to see when we were coming back, and they would not give you an official
Oh,
date.
right, because you're trying to like schedule things, right? Yeah.
So then my
Like, I don't
cousins,
know if
they're
I'll
like,
still be
they're
at
like,
war
so you're
or
gonna
not.
be,
It's so
yeah.
crazy, bro.
So when we got extended, I was like, yeah, I can be there, and then like it just kept moving on. Our date kept getting pushed back,
You
and
have
I
like
was
blood
like,
on your boots.
dude, I'm never gonna get home. And then I really wanted to go to the wedding, and then we finally got a date. And then I called my aunt.
Because the job was done, or because someone else was gonna switch in, like tag you out.
So they was just to get replaced.
Okay.
And then depending on what you're doing, and then that's just how long you stay there.
Yeah.
And then, so the whole thing is like you have your like kind of different units that are in the military. Like you've heard of like your Navy SEALs or your Army Rangers, or like, so you have like your elite
They're the only
special
one that
forces.
anyone
Like you have
hears
your elite
about, yeah.
special forces. And then now kind of out of that tier, then there's like this next tier. And like I said, so I was in the 82nd Airborne Infantry, and that's like that's like a tier down. So when we went over there, like our whole thing was to help the transition of the Iraqi army, was to gain intel.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, what's that look like functionally? You know,
Yeah, so that
like
it
help
just,
the transition. That could be
yeah,
anything.
yeah. So it was just to gain intel and take out as many insurgents as we can,
Right.
to just help the Iraqi
Yeah,
army,
just
so there's
keep
not that
order,
many as
yeah.
bad guys. And then yeah, I mean, long story in that, yeah, they lost like 6 months later after we pulled out of Iraq. But that's neither here nor there. So anyway, about the wedding though.
They lost because you pulled out.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
They
weren't going to
me.
listen to them. They weren't going to listen to them. I mean, we tried to train, like our job was to clear out. The special forces were there to like train the guys, like train the Iraqi army how to do our procedures and go about how to take
do the monkey
over.
bars. I saw those videos. They were like,
I mean, to climb around.
Bro,
I mean, you never know when you got to
This is
climb
what
around
they
the
do
desert.
with every
yeah.
fast food franchise you've ever been to. It's the same thing, but like, how many fast food franchises have you been to that were good? You just can't train people. You have to carry
Yeah.
yourself, dude.
Yeah.
You can't hire people.
No.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
You worked with Navy SEAls, or like you've been around
No,
them?
I just know like of it, like when we were there, like what they were doing there and everything.
Do you know a little bit about them, at least from being in the military? Or do you know
So the
nothing about
Navy
them?
SEALs, not that. So since Army, so our
Rangers.
special forces is the Rangers, Special Forces, and Delta Force. Now, if you look up like some bad motherfuckers, like so it goes Rangers, Special Forces, and Delta Force. Now
as
Delta
far as where you deal
out
with,
of
right?
the entire Army.
Army. Got it.
So this is Army. And then, but Delta Force, out of anything, they are the top tier. I don't care what other branch says, but they are the creme of creme, like the top dogs.
Delta Force sounds pretty
Because
dope.
that
sounds cool as fuck.
school,
Yeah.
so it's in. So when I was in
Delta.
Fort Bragg, that was my unit, and I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and that's where the Delta Force home base was. And I remember, like, they were just so badass. We're at the range, like, we're just doing, and they said, "You guys have to go down. You guys have to go down." Like, we're training. They have like simulated cities that kind of build out.
Damn.
And we go down, and they said, "You have to get down. It's just, you have to go down." All of a sudden, we hear these fucking helicopters and boom, 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 and just shit blowing up. And we get up, and we knew that it was Delta Force, but our simulated town was completely destroyed.
Damn.
And they did it like in minutes. And then like, so you have to get selected to even go there. Like you can't apply. Like they ask you
Interesting.
Fair.
if you want to go.
Makes sense.
Interesting.
So Rangers and Special Forces.
You over there
you
flexing
can-
and shit.
Oh yeah. And then the fucked up part is like, if you're a Ranger, if you're a Special Force, if you're a Navy SEAL, if you're what, you can honestly say like I am that. But when you're in Delta Force, you cannot.
You can't admit
Really?
it.
No.
Classified?
No, it's classified. Because then they're doing that next level shit. Like, I mean, if you've seen all these military movies, like I'm blanking right now off the top of my head, but anytime when they're like deeply submerged into the city and they're doing that top, like,
So because you
next
can't
level.
say it, technically,
You talking about
I
spy
could be
type?
Delta Force.
So,
You talking
so
spy shit? You mean when they're like deep in? That
yeah,
Okay.
like they're doing like, so the one thing is like when we were in Iraq and I was going on leave and I was at lunch and I saw like, dude, these like 6 dudes that were like completely
You can tell,
jacked.
right?
And
Yeah,
I
I've
was
heard
like,
you can tell.
and I was like, and then they had but they were dressed in civilian clothes. Like if you're overseas, you have to dress in uniform. So I see these 6 completely jacked dudes, and then
So
not
the
in
civilian
uniform.
clothes is like a
Civilian,
swag. It's
just
like a
whatever.
flex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's a major
It's just like
flex.
someone in prison who has like their own shoes.
There you go.
You know, or their own clothes. It's like, oh, this
100%.
is a flex.
100%.
Because everyone
They're
else has to do
flexing.
this thing. Yeah.
Now, my buddy and I noticed that they're handguns, but they were numbered, and normally civilians don't have the rights to bear arms, like in the combat zones. But then on top of that, it was numbered, and if you had your own, you wouldn't need it to be numbered.
Right.
And that just means so anytime that you're military, all your weapons, everything, like it gets
Tracked.
yeah, it gets tracked. Let's
Yeah.
say when it
Fair.
tracks. So I was like, all right. And we started talking. We sat next to them and they said 82nd. And I was like, yeah. He's like, "Yeah, you guys are pretty badass." And I was like, "All right, so civilian." And I was like,
This guy.
"What
hitting on
about
me?
this guy?" Yeah, well, at first, and I was like, maybe."
Yeah, let's see
I
where
was
it
like,
goes.
We'll see. I'll take it. And then he started talking, and then he started talking trash on like the Navy, and then Air Force and everything else. And I was like, all right. And then I was like, what are you guys doing here? And then he was like talking about the Rangers, and then he's like, they kind of do cool shit. And then I was like, what about the Special Forces? He's like, and I was like, are you guys Delta Force? And they just kind of like looked away, but they couldn't. And I was like,
Yeah.
Huh.
Delta Force. That was
You could
pretty
feel it
cool.
coming
I
off.
was- oh, yeah.
It's funny that they were talking shit about the other branches. That's like endearment. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
how you got. It's just like, so. This is a little bit of a leap, but I was thinking about this the other day. You
Yeah.
know, when a white guy will be talking to you. Did I talk about this on the podcast already?
I don't know, but keep going. I'll let you know.
I think
Right
I
now, I
did.
don't know.
I think I did last week with David. But when there will be, this is like a reach, okay? I'm already admitting that. But
You're good.
when there's just something that like feels like kinship. It's like, oh, we can. There's like when when a white person says a slur in front of me, even if I think that's fucked up, I think it's adorable that they're thinking they can connect with me on that level. Does that make sense?
Trust you.
Yes.
Yes, it's a trust thing.
Yes,
It's like, bro,
and
I
why?
think you're a piece of shit for having said that,
Yeah.
but I know that you trust me. Like, dude, I remember I met my friend's dad one time, and he dropped an N-bomb within like the first 10 minutes, and my friend wasn't even around, so I had to tell my friend about it. I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
your dad likes me. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, he said the N-word in front. He's either
Dropping
extremely
N-bombs
openly racist or just like trust me, because it's just in 2024 or something. It was just like a wild
Yeah,
thing
no
to do
one
when you
really
don't
does
know
that.
me. It's like I could be married to a black woman. You know, he didn't know me.
That's
Great. It was
I
just
didn't
like
even think about that.
Yeah, dude, the level of trust there is nuts.
He's also operating on like older people time.
Yeah,
so
true,
it's
true.
not
That
the
is
same
true,
thing.
true.
If
I
it
didn't
was like
even
a
think about
younger guy,
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, dude, that person fucking trusts the shit out of you.
Yeah.
That guy is just old enough to not care.
I never know when to like say something or like, you know, I usually opt just to not.
Almost never.
Yeah, because
What are you gonna
like
do?
not my place.
Change their whole
It's just-
mindset?
It's not my place.
How?
No.
How would you
Yeah.
even do it? It's
And
crazy.
and on top of that, you don't even know how it's gonna go.
No, of course not.
Never.
If you
Never
correct
do.
someone or just say, or I'm not, or something, I don't know the backlash. It's
No, of
just-
course you never would know.
So it's
yeah.
not my business. If you want to act that way, it's fine, man.
Yeah, like I can't let it affect me that much. Like, you know, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Your
Don't-
words are your words, you know. And
Yep.
if it's like that frustrating to me, I won't be around you anymore.
That was the whole thing. We went to the freaking Indiana trip, and then we had to get
Indianapolis, yeah.
stuck through freaking the TSA.
Tell us
and
about it. So, if I'm remembering, because the problem is we went to New Orleans like 5-6 months
in
before that. So, like,
September, and then yeah,
is this trip the trip that Kevin got talked to, and so that he threw his
Yes,
onesie down?
that was 100%.
Because Kevin, as you know, not everyone does, he has this onesie cape. It's like a poncho
It doesn't
made of
come off.
onesie material.
doesn't
So
come
it's
off.
like it's really
It's a
perfect.
Snuggie, no?
It's perfect
Yeah, I
for
think
like
it's-
I think it's
changing in
Snuggie.
front
I think
of
it's like
people.
legitimate
It's a
Snuggie
Snuggie.
brand.
It literally might be
Yeah,
a
it's a
snuggie.
Snuggie.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's
but
like half blanket.
It doesn't cover him all the way though. So like I would argue if it is, it's like a regular person's snuggie.
Mm.
Sure.
He would need a double. If you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's my best friend. I love that person.
Yeah, same here.
Uh,
same here.
Please, honestly, because we've already talked about how I felt about Indianapolis, and I've had my whole, but honestly, without you, hopefully you didn't hear that episode, and if you didn't,
I listened to your guys' podcast, so I did. But yeah,
that's amazing, and we appreciate you for
Yeah,
that.
dude,
It would have been
I'm-
cool if you didn't for this one but honestly, I'd rather you did. But anyway,
now
so
again, now my memory as I get older, it's not the sharpest. But yeah. So I guess what my perspective of the trip.
honestly, all I want to know, because
Yeah.
I know how I felt about the city, and the thing that I'm hearing as a fantasy football listener, because that's where the combine was. No.
Yes. Oh yeah. that's what they
So
hold
there
it
was a
every year.
lot of people that were like talking about how they went to the combine, this and that, and they talked about the football shit. That's great and whatever.
Mhm.
And a lot of them were just like glossing over the
fact that the
time
city
they
sucked?
actually had. And a lot of them, what
Really?
I felt like they were doing was just being polite, and they were just sort of being like, they just skip over it. They just say,
Yeah.
this is the nice thing that happened. They just skip over it.
Are you think about it? If you're this high profiled athlete or anyone, or just even a normal reporter, how you gonna feel about it if you just say that Indianapolis is a piece of shit
yeah.
place?
People
like,
don't want to
really?
burn bridges. Everyone has to be polite. I
So
know what you're
not
saying.
gonna hear Mike.
You're
I know
right.
what you're saying.
That's a good point.
But no one's
Yeah.
gonna say no
Yeah.
athlete.
Yeah.
If I'm a
is a
prospect,
good
I'm a
point.
kid trying to get
You guys both have good
drafted.
points. Yeah.
But
I'm not drafting
would
my
agree with
stock by
you.
saying this place fucking sucks.
if you're
yeah.
ESPN, if you're NFL actual or whatever, but like I listen to the Ringer podcast, who just does a little bullshit fantasy football.
Yeah, they do.
They are not beholden to anyone to like make them feel good, and that's
Sure.
one thing I like about them. It's like when a fucking person can just talk shit about a company because they're legitimately trying to give you their actual.
Yeah.
And I get that that's a good point. That's why most people aren't going to say shit. But at the end of the day,
It does suck that the bigger you get, that the less free speech you have. It seems,
100%.
It's like
Under a microscope.
The bum, exactly. The bum who's schizophrenic, at the end of the street, right? It's that he can say
Anything.
He can say literally anything.
Anything.
You know what I mean? And then you get more high profile.
Yep.
And you can't, talk about how the Jews are running the world or whatever the fuck, or whatever the
whatever they want to talk about,
yes,
whatever's going on.
Whatever
in
the
the
thing
world,
is, it's like Bryce Mitchell, the UFC fighter. You heard how he was like wants to go fishing with Hitler or whatever.
Oh yeah, that guy.
He did this thing like, I'm just saying I'd go fishing with him, which is such a crazy take, bro. But he got a lot of shit from that because he's high level, right? If he's the guy at 7-Eleven, people are
No
going,
one's
yeah,
gonna-
what the
did he say it like in a positive way?
Yes.
Because like
yes.
Oh, he
Yes.
was
Like, at the end of
100%.
I
the
think
day-
right before that he was like, but he was a good
Fuck,
person.
I don't mean to say it that
He was
way.
misconstrued, and I'd like to go fishing with. It was like a vouching for him
Yeah.
almost. It wasn't just
Okay,
like out
okay.
of curiosity.
in
I know
that,
what you're saying.
That's something
Once
different.
you
different.
said it, no, it
Context.
sparked, and I remembered it, and that's 100% how he came off.
yeah,
Like,
you can't say it's
Fair.
Completely genuine, like that. That's how that man felt and thought. Oh,
So
man.
what's up, dude? Let's talk about some TRT.
All right.
Why
I
do you
wanna
take
talk-
it?
I want to talk about TRT because I just feel like it's like hair transplants.
Okay.
People will do this thing and not speak about it.
Now, funny enough, I will touch on that hair plant because I'm gonna get one, but we can
You want
first.
a turkey?
Yeah, and then I
Oh,
can
love
get
it.
into that. Hold on,
Perfect,
but I
perfect.
can lead into
Yes,
how
yeah.
that leads to that. So yeah, so I'm very open about TRT. Like most people are just
Weirdly
I get
secretive.
it. I get it. Why they're so secret? Like I get it.
I guess I do.
I mean,
I guess
depending on what
it's
people's
admitting
got going on.
weakness, maybe. It's like I'm using an enhancement, right? So then someone who's like, I'm natural. It's like, who gives a fuck? Like, who's
Oh,
living?
God,
What's
those
the quality
people
of
are
life?
The worst on there.
Dude,
Those fucking Instagram dudes that are clearly roided out of their mind,
Uh-huh.
all natty, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing natty about
they're like 400 pounds straight muscle. They're like black beans. This is the key.
Yeah,
sure.
It's always
I'm
some
sure.
like retard. It's like
Yeah.
the dumbest little thing.
Yeah.
They're like
Yeah.
ashwagandha every morning. You get like this.
That's what it is.
Yeah, they're on
That's what it
trend.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so how it all came about was that actually, so with having kids and everything, because it leads into it. So Ashley and I, like my wife and I, like it survived. Like our kids were 18 months apart, and then during that time frame, it was just life or death of just trying to survive. And then we just stress and everything. So we gained a lot of weight.
Yeah, you're in survival
Now
mode.
I don't know if you've seen me when I was at and I called to
Fat?
my peak fatness.
I definitely have not seen you fat.
Holy wow, you missed that stage.
It's
So
a bummer.
I was at my peak weight was at 295.
Damn.
Oh, you weren't fat. You're so tall, dude. You gotta understand.
Dude,
You're
that's-
fat,
it
and a
is
normal
not a
person's
good-
How much
fat.
you weigh now,
To
but it's
you,
not.
I get it.
Yeah, but and then with my wife and I, just because of stress of having that close and everything. So, but between my wife and I, over the last now it's 2 years, and we lost over 125 pounds between both of us.
I love that you guys are even saying it as a couple.
Yeah.
That's like we're pregnant. You know what I mean?
No, I mean,
no. I mean, you guys did it together. That's what
Yeah.
it's just nice to be like, together we did this collectively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's interesting. He didn't even. That's just interesting.
no, because it's
I
not even
think
about
it's
me. Because
beautiful,
her and I
that
were
thought.
always in shape prior. I mean, as you guys know, like I guess the people off the army. So whenever I start working out, but I've been working out. I worked out for like 11 straight years of 6+ days.
Damn.
And then once
That's
one of the
crazy.
kids
That's
and everything
psychopathic.
started to come
It's too
along.
much.
But that's what I'm
psychopathic.
saying. So then that's where, or I guess so the
Did
big
you
thing
feel
I can
different?
kind of what's that?
Sorry. Did you feel different when you stopped going to the gym, or you're so in
Dude,
survival
man,
mode?
Terrible,
that,
terrible. But so that's anyway how I got. So when we went to Iraq, so our working out started from you just do PT in the morning, and then before deployment they wanted you to do PT again. Well, my buddy wanted to work out, and then I was like, all right. So we did PT in the morning, PT before or at the end of the day. Then we went to the gym, and then I was telling everyone, dude, I was like, I'm working out 2 to 3 times a day. And then I did that for like the whole 14-month deployment. We even worked out before that. So I said, like, you can look however you want. Like, when everyone says all these NFL players are on steroids, I'm like, motherfucker, they're working out all goddamn day. That is their sole job.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sure they have help. And this is what I'm going to say with TRT. So when they get busted on PEDs and everything, so it's their testosterone level. And then anything over 1,000, that means you're on some type of anabolic steroid. So when they get busted, I promise you almost probably every professional athlete is on TRT.
They're on something. Yeah,
but
for sure.
but then anytime they get busted, they probably took it, and then that's where levels are really high, and they probably got tested,
Too
busted.
soon after, yeah.
And then, but anyway, so long story short, I was like, so that's how I bulked up in such, like I went from 180 when I joined, and then when time I got back from Iraq, so like a 2-year span, I was at 225.
Were you eating really intentionally?
Yeah, so I did all that, the
Right.
shakes and everything
Right,
else,
right.
and then I mean, whenever I went to the
Something
chow
to focus
hall
on too. That's nice.
yeah,
While
so
you're
then
there,
and
you
then
know?
there to take your mind off whenever we were on missions, and even when I was on missions, dude, I'd be curling the 50 like shrugging the fuel can, whatever
Yeah.
you can do to work out, but you just stay in that. So then to piggyback, so anyway, so when my wife and I, so we lost all, so we were always in shape whenever we met. Then we had the kids, and then just kind of just tanked.
No, we're not.
Just tanked terribly, and then so she got into it, and she went to this wellness clinic, and then as she was there, she saw this pamphlet, and it was for low T, and she's like,
Husband's huge dick.
yeah,
not
I
getting
guess,
hard.
yeah. And then I
Love
was
it.
like, all right, and then so she brought the pamphlet to me, and she's like, you might have this, and I was like, let me see this, and I read it, and I was like, oh shit, dude, like I have almost everything here. Besides ED, thank God. But I was like, but I have like almost everything. So I go into the wellness clinic, and then they give you a survey. And within the survey, they ask you, it was like 12 questions. Again, I had 11 of the 12 was from low T. And then she was saying like, it's just serious. Like, so when God, like, so when a lot of people hear TRT and like, I'm
Which
not
is, by
sure
the way,
what that is.
TRT is testosterone replacement therapy. Just so
Also,
people know
not
what
to
we're
like
talking about.
stop this. Like, can you
Sure.
tell us some of the things that like you would like had to say, like, so that they know that you needed the thing, so other people can be like, yeah, I think I need
What are
this.
some
too.
Yeah.
of
Oh
those
no. So that's
symptoms?
where I want to help. Like, I'm sure as a majority of your listeners probably males.
Yeah.
Probably.
So no, but I mean, but I bring this in like even randomly, like even just random dude. Like if I'm at the gym or if I talk to anyone, like I talk to guys about it because I want them. Like it is some serious shit. So
Yeah.
like
Well, that's why I was
when
just
you
saying
have
a
low
talk.
when you have low T, what it is, then your body just isn't producing enough of testosterone, and then that is the main thing that drives males. If you're getting low T, then your bone density goes down, and then you have a high chance of osteoporosis, and also can lead to heart disease. And then all these boomers, these old timers, are like, "Oh man, just suck it up." Or then I'm like, "No, why suck it up?" Or when everyone, and especially being a guy, like we're men here, and they know to tell you, you can't feel down or you can't feel this way. And I'm like, no, there's probably something wrong. Like you should probably get checked out,
Yeah.
and you should probably check for your well-being. And then, so when I saw the pamphlet, it opened my eyes, and then I was trying to tell her. Then I was like, the way that I felt. Oh, so I got my blood tested. Anything under, so it's a scale. It's a little
It's
crazy.
a very big range.
Yes,
Because
so it's from
old.
300 to 1,000. Now, someone our age, because we're all around the same age, we should be between 375 to 425. And then I was at 275. So I was well below. So I had it. And then, but the way that I felt like was that, I mean, God, if you feel this way, but like, so I always felt if I got 6 hours or 16 hours of sleep, the second I wake up about an hour to my day, I feel like the gas light went on. Like I felt instantly tired.
Fatigue.
I was
yeah.
highly irritable. Like you guys have known me forever. Am I ever like on edge or a prick or a dickhead or like snap at anyone? Have you
No.
ever seen me snap at
No,
anyone?
not
That
that.
one
Dude,
domestic violence thing, but other than that,
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
been-
yeah.
Maybe when people are drunk and out of control, I feel like I've seen you at least once. But like,
probably
yeah,
justified,
dude,
Oh
it
yeah.
no,
would,
that's
like
probably
literally be like
that's
a
probably keeping people in mind.
specific.
But anyway, that's probably keep them
The hand of the law.
Yeah. Gotta let them know. But so like, but it's just not me. Like I'd be lashing out. Like just even my kids did something, I'd be like freaking out. Like just being just not me. I did not feel right.
What was interesting, real quick, this is add
okay.
in.
Yeah.
A lot of people think with testosterone because they make it. They say it's a steroid, so that they, all steroids are the same way weed and heroin are both drugs, right?
Sure.
So, but people talk about roid rage. So
Sure.
it's counterintuitive to hear for people, I bet, that low T can actually make you irritable. You know what I mean? It's just like quicker to, so that's interesting.
And then that's a very common side effect is that you see if you're feeling fatigued, irritated, just stressed, you're losing
Low
your hair,
motivation.
just everything, low sex drive, your dick just doesn't care
And when you
anymore.
said drive earlier, it's not just sex drive. It's drive, period.
Yes.
That's the thing. It's not, people think it's like it's just it turns you into a horny werewolf or whatever the thing was saying earlier. Like, but no, it's just like it makes you more willing to get out of fucking bed and like go.
And then it's also foggy brain and just clear. Like I always felt like there was, the way I described it was like a cloud over my head. Like it was hard to get like motivated at work, and then really wanted to like I said, I couldn't focus. I just didn't I just was so out of it. And then ever since I got on it, that's what I'm saying, where it's life changing, is like just to get tested. And now it's actually been 2 years now since I've been on it, and just complete life changing. I don't care what anyone said. Like
that's your experience, period.
Is life changing stuff. Now it is funny. So then all the other complications that I was having from it. So when I was all overweight and everything, and I was getting gout. Have you ever guys heard of gout or know what
like a
gout?
foot thing.
No, a fair amount.
Brutal.
People get it in
brutal.
their feet.
So it's usually older people. So what happened was
Or
my
out
wife
of
asked
shape,
me
I
to put
think.
some things away, and then I was like putting things away in the basement. All of a sudden I was like, oh my God. And I'm like yelling. And then she's like, what's wrong? I was like, I think I broke my foot. And she's like, how'd you break your foot? I was like, I don't know.
But it's your fault. You sent me down here.
Yeah, you
bitch.
sent me to do this. You wanted me to do this manly task. And then I was like, so anyway, we go to patient first. And then my foot's just cherry red, swollen and everything. And then we go take an x-ray and everything. And
But there was no catalyst. It was just like stepping.
it was just, and dude, it felt like
Just
it was shattered.
existing.
Right.
It felt, so gout feels like, you guys seen Walking Dead with Negan with like his bat, Lucille?
Sure.
It felt like he was just repetitively smashing my foot is what gout feels
Golly.
like. Just a repetitive smash on your foot.
Isn't it like a swelling or something?
So what
Like,
it
I
is
think I've
that
seen
it's
it
an
somewhere.
autoimmune disease, and
So
you have
inflammation.
high levels of uric acid, and then it's just an autoimmune disease that your body just can't regulate the levels, and then but it's usually in poor dieting. Well, the main triggers is alcohol, shellfish, seafood,
Huh.
those type of things is what really triggers it, and then and poor hydration and everything else. So then at that time when I was a fatty slot mess, I mean I wasn't really doing any of that, and then so after they took the X-ray and my foot is swollen and everything, is like, oh, you have gout, and I was like, isn't that what old people have?
like
It's usually more predominant. So when I looked it up, it was more like 55 to 65 range.
Yeah,
and
old
then
and
I
out
was
of shape,
like,
like you
dude,
said.
what
That's
the
what I
hell?
usually
And then
thought.
that's where, and then ever since then, since I've been on TRT, that's gone.
yeah, that's interesting.
Have not had that, and then just a lifestyle change, and then I had really bad freaking arthritis in my right knee, and that actually came from taking super greens, but we can get in that for a little bit. But yeah, so anyway, so back on the TRT, so like where it's so important for people to take care is like, where especially us men is like, we don't want to say nothing, or like if you feel a certain way, just because they say, what is it, rub some dirt on it or drink some water and carry on, and I'm like, no one should feel that way. If you're not feeling right at all for whatever reason, find a way to fix it.
Those guys, Austin,
Find a way to fix it.
They would rather operate like, look, let's just say you went from 70% to 90%, right? They would rather operate their entire lives at 70% to just be like, I ain't cheat, I took what life gave me. Like, it's
And
just a
then there's
better
so much-
quality of life, I
Yeah,
feel
and
like.
then there's so much out there that you can
There's
take.
cons as
and
well.
and there's so much out there that you can take to help you. So anyway, so after I got tested, did all the blood work and everything, and then I got on it. It felt freaking
Let me ask you
phenomenal.
this. Did you do it yourself the first time?
Nope. So at
Yeah, I
very
don't blame
first,
you.
so if anyone doesn't know, so
Right.
it's an intramuscular shot. So it's
An
a
IM
big-ass
injection
needle-
rather
not-
than intravenous, vein versus
so
muscle.
not into your vein, it's
Easier.
into a muscle.
Yes, safer.
Yeah. So you can either, I just do it just right in the glute, right in the good old buttocks, and then
Yeah. Because it's there or shoulder or thigh.
yes,
Yeah.
those are the options.
The meaty spots.
Yeah, the meaty spots. So at very first, so I went to this wellness clinic that my wife was going to, and then she would just do it.
The people there?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So then that was
That
nice.
sounds
and,
nice.
And then what was
Because
nice
every
is-
time I've done it, dude, I hated it.
yeah. So what was nice is, so when I went there, I just felt like it was more personable. I was seeing someone, and then they were going over my blood, like just kind of
That's
helping
nice
me
too,
every
going
step
over
of the
blood
way.
work, yeah.
And then, so now it was more pricey. And then afterwards, I was like, all right, well, after I do this to where I feel comfortable, I'm going to
Get it figured
find
out.
a outsourced way.
Yeah.
And then I found right now, it's this veteran-owned company. And then, I don't know if you can do shout outs or not out here, but but Peter MD, if you look at that veteran-owned company, they promise that they'll match anyone that can match your rate or lower, they'll match it.
Peter
And-
MD, huh?
Yep, Peter MD. And then you go on there, and then you pay up front for 6 months, and then after that it averages out to $90 a month.
Mm.
And then you have to
Well
take
worth.
two blood tests,
A year?
2 blood tests a year. So every 6 months you got to take a blood test.
Yeah. What you
And
want to
that's
do
around
anyway.
120, 140. Yeah, then they regulate.
Right.
And then you still have a meeting with a doctor, and then they go over all your levels. So in the very beginning, very base beginning, I was at 275, and then so you have that level of testosterone.
And then you have
Then
your
you have
free
the
test.
free test.
Yeah.
And then that was trash, like 11 or something. And then now I'm at 775.
Yeah, I was curious about your levels.
So I'm at 775 with like 55
Free.
free test. And then, so it's phenomenal. And
How
then with
long
there-
between when you started to when you started to feel it? Probably early
I would
psychosomatically
it
almost.
took a little bit. I think
Yeah,
a few
couple weeks probably.
a couple weeks, just like with anything else.
Mm.
So what I try to tell everyone is like I try to take as good care of myself as I can, because I just want to hang in there for the long run. And then with having kids, and then my biggest motivation is just seeing like older people and just how
they've given-
struggled they look. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want that. Like I just
Yeah.
don't like that is my motivation.
Yeah.
And not even a bad way, but I was like, do I really want to be that old and I can't move around?
That's
Or,
what I
like,
think about the
everything
gym.
looks
In the
terrible.
gym, in the gym, when I need another rep, I think about people breaking their hips, dude. People being 78 and just being hurt all the time. I'm like, and I might be there too, but let's try to
Sure.
prolong it, you know? Warren Buffett used to go to schools and give this talk. He's like, if I gave you a car right now, he was like talking to high school kids.
Okay.
He's like, when you turn 16, I give you this car. It's the perfect car you ever wanted, right? It's the best car in the world.
Sure.
But you're never allowed to have another car. This is the only car you get until you die, right?
Mhm.
You would take such immaculate care of that car. Immaculate care.
That's true.
You don't do it with your body.
Yes.
He's like, you're in a car, you're in something that you only will get one of, and no one's
Yeah.
shining the tires. No one's fucking.
So
you
then
know,
to
doing
put
the
that into
tune-up.
perspective, so like what I try to say to everyone is like, I mean, now this is on the extreme level, but you always hear athletes like LeBron James or anyone else, like he spends over $1 million on himself, or
Oh yeah.
but I know that that's a profession, but in general, what I try to tie it back to is like, for my wife and I, like we spend, there's a lot, like I mean, for supplements and everything, like we want the most production and everything, and there's nothing wrong, like I get today and this economy and how expensive everything
Yeah.
is, but that worth the money, maybe not shop here or get a drink there, like invest in a supplement here or there, or like invest in yourself in the long run.
Yeah, I'll say
It's
that
just
too
how
about.
I feel.
I would agree
Yeah.
with that financially and time wise. Like I'll hear people say often, I don't have time to go to the gym, right? Because but they're not. I don't think they're doing the cost benefit analysis properly. Because the same with the supplements, that will spill over to everywhere in your life.
Mhm.
This is how I feel about therapy. It's like, yeah, the therapy is good, but not just for in therapy.
Yeah.
If I'm going to therapy and it's being helpful and productive, it's going to help every interaction I have, everything I do.
There you go.
If I'm taking care of my body, it's not like, oh well, it feels good in the gym. It feels good.
No, how do you feel all the time?
Yeah, it's like it like spills out. It's like, you know, it goes
Okay.
into other things. That's why I think those certain things like that are more worth investing in, because they have that overflow effect.
Yes.
Where it's like, yeah,
Yeah, if you saw myself, like if I were to had an interview with my old self till now, of like I can't even imagine like just how much better I feel, and just what it takes to take care of yourself, and like it is seriously worth the investment. And then that's where like it's just so meaningful, and like that's where I just want people to like realize is just like, dude, just take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And it is worth the investment.
yeah.
And just how good you feel, like you said, whether it's therapy, do whatever makes you have to feel right, but
Yeah.
just do it, man.
Let's
and then-
talk
and
about some
invest.
cons
Okay.
of TRT.
All right.
Because
So
it's
the
easy to
con-
talk
oh, yeah.
about the pros, and I want people to be informed, right?
Yes.
It's like, because I want to also say this: I'm not on TRT.
Sure.
I've done testosterone, a few illegal cycles, you know, hypothetically, you know. So it's like there's cycling, and then there's the what's it called? like blast and cruise, or no, that's just
Oh,
like the
yeah, that's
well,
just a
there's
yeah.
cycling, and then there's maintenance. That's what I was
Yes.
looking for. So TRT is maintenance. Basically, I'll speak on one of the cons now, but basically you get on TRT and your body, because you're introducing external testosterone, your body internally stops making it. Right, so now it's not endogenous; it's exogenous, or whatever the fuck. So because of that, your body will stop making it, which
Yep.
only really it's not a problem because
Yeah.
you're giving it to yourself. Now, if you stop giving it to yourself at some point, your body would have trouble remaking it probably if you've been on for a while. Now, why would you get off? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that is one of the things. It's the only reason I haven't done it is because I have commitment issues, and it's like and it's like this is forever.
Out of everything, and I know how you are, that is a lifelong commitment. So
Yeah.
that is so. If anyone asks me what is the number one drawback to TRT, it's you have to take it for the rest of your life. There is no. Well, I'll do it for a few months at a time.
Right.
No, you have to do it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because then if you don't, then I mean it'll tank and it'll eventually level out. But remember, I already have low T.
Yeah.
So I'm going to revert back. And the most alarming,
even if you went back to baseline, it would be bad,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's health line. And also when you're on low T, like it's also like gaining or trying to gain muscle or anything. So I was trying to get back into shape. I was losing weight. I got a Peloton, lost all this weight, and then I still ride that about 4 to 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And I tried to do that, and then so once I got there, I was like, all right, well let me get to the gym. I was into the gym for a month straight. And I did not improve, not one goddamn weight. And then that's when my wife gave me the pamphlet. So it kind of like worked down that time. But I was like, I can't, like my body. So it's almost like being on it. So I as it sucks, but it was like my body would just basically quit and like it was throwing the towel.
Yeah.
And I was like, but then yes. So downfall is yes, you got to take it for the rest of your life.
You have to take it forever.
And then it's an intramuscular shot. So you gotta
poke yourself a couple times a week.
So then I'm at. So the first
Forever.
one was once a week, but then now I'm at, so the maximum you can take is 1 milliliter, and then I'm at 2 at 0.5, so I'm maxed out what I can do legally, and then so I take that twice a week, and then so twice a week I gotta
stick
inject stick myself.
That's
so
the hardest
a
part
downfall.
about it. And people say, why can't you take it orally? It's like it messes with your organs. You have to.
There is an oral one, but as you said, I'm not.
It's just not fully. Yeah.
And I don't know how much can actually like through your whole body process. I don't know how much you're actually
how
getting
much
out
is
of it.
bioavailable?
I don't know.
Call back from earlier, bioavailability. Just saying.
Nice.
Yeah, I did it. So the problem with like doing cycles like I did, it feels good to be on it.
Yeah.
Therefore, it feels bad to be off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you're going on and off like I was, it's like you're messing with your hormones. You're messing with
Yes.
your system, and it was like there was a real crash. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I would want to be on during summer and pumped up during summer, and then the
Yep.
winter I'd be off, and then it's like already winter. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm in here
I
like
don't even
cutting
need to look
myself.
that. I don't need to get
I don't
all
need to
cut
make it
up or
more
anything else.
yeah,
What more do I need to do?
Right, just be sad and feminine for all winter. That's the thing. It's like
and
it's
then
so
that's what
tempting to
raises
stay
the
on.
estrogen levels.
Dude,
when
it's
take
so,
off.
it's
just
so
crashes.
tempting to just stay on, and I'm going to. Like I already know for a fact
Yeah.
I'm going to be on it because even if it goes from like 60 to 70%, it just felt better. You know, I felt like more.
You're gonna get way more than that, but
more
yeah.
apps for the world.
And then all right, so another downfall is so you stop producing
It said, well,
testosterone.
yeah.
Guess what happens to your balls?
They shrink.
They shrink.
Balls shrink.
Now, actually, I take that as a good sign because they're just in the.
Need something to balance it out.
It was. To me, that was actually more of a blessing. Like after 2 years now,
Yeah,
it
that's the
took
whole
around the
reason I'm even
first
on
year,
it.
but now it just started to shrink up. and
Really, you can
it's-
tell already.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
oh yeah. They've went down. I don't know, probably 30 to 40%.
Wow, really? In a couple, yeah.
It's nice. It's nice for me.
Yeah.
Don't know about other guys, but for me, it's quite not annoying.
Yeah, well, it
That's
is.
annoying.
It is interesting how that used to be like a stigma about it. Like other guys would be like, "Oh, you're on tiny balls." It's like, is big balls a thing?
Yeah. Do you
Like I know,
that?
like
I don't know.
metaphorical.
Most people don't
metaphorical
know,
big balls.
Women
Like,
don't
oh, this guy's got
understand
some
what
balls.
they suck. They're annoying. They're in the way.
You ever sat on
smash 'em.
one? Yeah, smash them, sat.
Obviously, so anyway, so you have that, and then obviously the cost because that's always something. Now you can go to the doctors too, and then get it underneath your insurance.
It's harder to do.
But it's harder.
It's a lot
do.
easier at a wellness clinic because they
then-
want to help people and do
Yeah.
that. A lot of
And
primaries.
then whatever I do, like I said, what I go through, and then to me, it's financially affordable enough. Like, think that to me, it's not a big deal.
So I
But
spent $240 on Zins a month.
well,
You know what I mean?
Could have spent 90 on TRT.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, look, they're pretty damn good over there.
Hey, thanks,
Yeah.
brother. It's a tight close.
Yeah,
But and then listen, it's like there's a lot of pros. There really just
Yeah.
are. You know, the sex drive is better. The sex is better. Look, I had a buddy tell me one time, and it was such a funny way to sum it up. He was on doing cycles of testosterone, and he was like, we were talking to someone who's never done it, and the guy's like, "Is it?" We were talking about the sex, and the guy's like, "Is it really that good?" And he looks at the guy and he goes, "If the testosterone I'm doing only help my sex life the way it does, I'd pay for it." You know what I'm saying? He's like, fuck the gains, fuck the motivation, he's like, if it literally only did that, I would pay for it. I thought that was so interesting. I mean, he was being hyperbolic a bit.
So I guess a pro con, depending on how you want to look at it, it does get you back to how you feel as a teenage boy of just like, dude, when I wake up, I'm like, dude,
and reintroduces
I
morning
just
wood.
woke up, man, and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is. And then your mindset. So as us guys, like we're very sex driven and like, and then how we see women and everything.
Thanks
and
to
just
the
seeing,
testosterone.
And then now it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
even
yeah.
more in flux where I'm just like,
more rapey.
man, like, no, Jesus Christ. Not in the, I mean,
No,
yeah,
of
I
course
depend on the
not.
person.
Depends
the
on how
person.
hot we're talking.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
No,
But it gets you more pumped up. Like,
Well, that's what I'm
you
gonna
feel
say.
in your
You have that
primal-
with a balanced brain, right?
Yes,
It's not just like you're this brute, like, oh,
No,
I'm horny.
no,
So,
and
so
that's-
yeah, you have this, like, okay, well, I feel, this
So
feels
if people
more
are
things.
abusing, so I guess that's where the misconception, oh, you're on TRT. No, you're at a safe level. Like I said, they're going to make sure you're under 1,000 because they can't legally give you more than that if you're over 1,000. And they try to not get you that close to it anyway. They want to keep you around maybe at 850 or 900
I
would be
want
the
to seem
highest.
modest, yeah.
But yeah, they want you to keep you there. And then like, but yeah, so if anyone's abusing, then that's where all that
Well, that's what
stereotype comes
Yes,
from.
exactly. And they're
If-
also
when they're
adding
abusing.
a bunch of different kinds. That's
And
another
that
thing.
too. Oh,
That's
yeah.
another thing. Just like
Trend
steroids
and
or
everything
steroids. You guys
else,
start adding
and
trend to your
Winstrol
body,
and everything else,
dude.
and you're just on a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Then you're just asking.
So I went. I did go and get tested. I think it was through my primary, which was probably a mistake. But I went and got tested, and I wasn't low enough to get it. So I was just
What do
like,
you
I'll get it
what was it?
myself. Huh?
What was it?
I think
again?
like 4 something, but
Oh, you're right in range. But
it felt
okay,
a lot better
now here's
being
the
8
thing.
something. I can tell
Now
you
here's-
that, bro.
now here's the thing. So even with those places like mine outside of a wellness, if you just say, "No, I'm feeling down" or whatever, then you can get on it, and then they can prescribe it to you. Like it's not so a doctor, you have I would say next to 0% chance of able to get it.
Yeah.
Because unless if you fall below the 300, or even some doctors look at 275.
Yeah.
So if you're not below that, the doctor, I promise you have a 0.0% chance of getting it. So that's where those other sites that I was saying, like, they'll get you on it. And they're like, no, I just want to feel better. And what you don't know is there's a lot of very successful men out there that take it just for that mental. So the number one thing that was most beneficial to me was my mental focus.
I remember you telling me that.
And then I said that, and I said the number one thing that hit me was my mental focus, and all of a sudden, my mentality changed. And then I just I got locked into work. Then I just want to consume information. And before I listened to a lot of music, then that switched, and then I just listen to podcasts, and I only listen to podcasts. And the only time I listen to music, God honest, is if I'm in my car because my wife's in there, or my wife is around. Other than that, if I'm by myself, or the kids are in the car,
bro,
the kids are in the car, it's
only
podcast,
when other people
podcast.
are around, you know? It's not
Podcast,
even, it's
podcast.
interesting.
Because I just want to consume information, and then that just kind of completely changed my mentality. And then that's where I just wanted to get into real estate, and then just investment real estate. And I just wanted, like, my mind just started clicking. Like, it's just kind of like the Limitless with Bradley Cooper. Like, it just opens this where I'm just locked in, and I just wanted to be just. You just want to consume information because you had that. Because before I was just so tired, and so like it just took just to be me, just to get through a day,
Right.
have children and everything, and then it just swapped over, and then all of a sudden now that's no problem. Like I can handle my own personal life, I can handle my family life. What else? What else? What else?
Right.
Consume,
I guess
consume,
I guess I
consume.
worry about, and it's a silly thing to worry about, but when you're 65, I guess it doesn't even matter then, right? You're just like,
Yeah,
what
you're
the
pretty
fuck's it
close,
matter?
You're knocking on heaven's door.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
anyway,
I guess it'd be stuff to be sticking myself twice a week. My saggy ass.
I
when
know,
was
and
70.
that's a downfall. So it was funny. So when you're talking about that, so I
the
went to
forever
the clinic.
word, the F word kills me.
Yeah. So the clinic, I went on that, and then I went to the clinic, and then after that, then my wife. So she started to bring it home. My wife did it.
Did what? TRT?
She would give me the shots.
Oh, okay. I thought
Sorry.
you meant she got on the shit.
Good
I'm
hell,
like, what the
no.
fuck?
Good Jesus Christ, no. So then after that, she just was like so freaked out by it that she's like, then once when I got to do
After
it twice a
doing
week,
it?
well, no, she was
But she
doing them.
didn't love it.
And then her ass, she's a freaking microbiologist that does need, like, she does all, like, she's this high level scientist that does all this stuff. And I'm like, girl, you do this all, like, you can just shoot me up once a week. And then I was like, come on.
Yeah.
But then once when it came to twice a
Come on.
week, then over time, I just took it over. Like, I was like, it is what it is. I got tired of asking her because I knew she felt awkward. I
Have you
to
ever
do for the
done
rest
it
of
in
my
your
life.
thigh or shoulder?
The thigh.
Do you know what size needle you're using?
That was a 22.
Is that what you're using everywhere?
That's just what goes in my butt now.
22?
Yeah.
They're so big, dude. Pause. Yeah, they're huge. And dude, I put one on my thigh one time. And I'm not a scientist like your wife, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know what's going on in here. Like, I understand there's a muscle. What I don't understand? Tendons, fascia, veins.
So do you know that your
dude, just
thigh, once when I read, that is actually one of the most dangerous places to inject.
Dude, there's that femoral artery or something
right
where you
here.
get shot.
That runs right in there.
Bro,
Yeah.
I know I didn't hit my femoral, thank God.
Yeah,
but
thank God.
I
You
hit
wouldn't be
myself.
here, yeah.
Right, I hit myself somewhere, bro, that for days. I'm like,
Yes. Yep.
for days, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the? I'll never do that again. It
Yeah.
fucked my thigh up.
Yeah.
bro.
So now there is things. So after all, I think I did the math the other day or something. Like, I've done over 3 or what was it? Almost 200 something shots or
Injections?
something.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
injection. So now
Big
during that
statistics
time frame, like, dude, I've definitely have taken, like, so when I was bigger, obviously there's more chunk to grab,
Bigger
there's less
fat
so
or
then
muscle.
so now as I'm starting to cut down, dude, sometimes when I hit, dude,
Dude, that's how
well, you're talking about the Charlie horse, like,
Dude,
it is just shooting
It's terrible.
brutal.
And dude, I'm smaller than you, so like I was even smaller when I
Brutal.
started. Dude, it was just like,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
hitting
not-
bone and shit. Dude, it's still tough, man.
Yeah.
And so to get over that side,
Yeah.
and once you're done, you're done. Like you said,
Yeah.
you get in your head about it a little bit. Like that shit sucks.
I
And
have
then
to
have you ever
say,
had a bad? Have you ever had a bad problem with an injection? Ever get infected? Ever have it swell up? Ever
No,
sometimes
you
I
get the
won't go
little
deep
bubble.
enough,
You get
and
the
it'll
little
get a
bubble. But then that you can either A, massage it out, or B, leave it alone. So it depends on how freaked out you are. And I do research if it does happen, but
Yeah.
it's a common thing that will
Yeah,
go down.
yeah. It's just creepy.
But you want to make sure that there's no freaking air or anything, and then because then you got to draw it from. So there's 2 different syringes. So the one that you pull from the bottle, and the other one that you go to inject.
All right, so
yourself.
explain that for a second. Yeah, so the one you pull, you have the bottle of testosterone. It has a seal on the top.
Yep.
The one that you pull out of there is
Yes.
a thicker gauge needle
Yes.
because
Yeah,
it's easier to suck up.
Yes.
And then you swap it for a smaller needle.
Yep.
I had someone doing mine one time, and they
Okay.
forgot to swap. Now listen. As they're going to put it in me, they're like, "It ain't working." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Because I'm looking this way, right? I'm like, "What do you mean it's not working?" Right? And they're like,
Sure.
it's like there's I'm starting to feel a poke, but then they're like, I don't know what's going on. They didn't put it together in their head, and they were like almost about to put this fucking thing. Like they had it against my skin, and they could realize because of how thick it was and how it wasn't going in. They were like, something's wrong. And in my head, I'm just like, what could be wrong? What do you have the needle right? And then I realized it at the very end. I'm like, oh shit, that's the fucking draw needle.
Yes.
That would be
so
brutal. That's a
I can't even
straw.
imagine.
Dude, that's fucking.
I couldn't even imagine. Like that is.
I
one
would have
thing.
had to lay down, bro. I would have been like,
That's a major
shot deer.
That's a major red flag right there.
that would be
Huge.
fucked
And
up.
then all right, so then another downfall is like with your hair.
Yeah,
And
it puts
then
hair
you
everywhere but your head.
What? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's one thing, dude. I never had back hair. I had very minimal back hair,
Uh-huh.
and then I started taking it.
Yeah.
Now I'm fucking Chewbacca back there,
That's
and I
what's
was like, I
interesting.
never had
Literally, it takes hair from up here.
Yes.
And gives you more other places.
So you
I don't
produce
get
DHT, and then it's just that's what attacks your hair, attacks it. So then this is where I'm saying for the hair transplant. So another negative side effect. So actually, my brother-in-law, he went. He's a lot younger. When he went to Turkey, I think he was like 25 or so.
Damn.
Yeah. So his hair was
If you
taking
go at
him-
25, God
Yeah.
hates you. Yeah,
So
it's
now the good thing is, so when you go to Turkey, at that time it was probably 2 years ago or so. So it was $3,000 for the procedure, $2,000 for the flight. That same procedure in America is around 24 to 28,000. Same procedure, Mike. If you did not,
What was it? Hair
Turkey?
transplants?
yes, the hair transplant in Turkey, $3,000 for the procedure, $2,000 for the flight.
5G.
5 Gs. America, 24 to 28,000 for the same procedure.
Now in Turkey, they don't like wash their hands.
That's
or
my
use
thing.
hand
I was
No,
gonna
no,
say,
no,
like,
no, no,
well,
there's different.
I'm
Hold
with
on,
you,
hold on, no,
but there
that's
are
where the
definitely a lot of
business-
regulations
I agree.
in the
I agree.
States.
That's more stigma.
Whereas
Yeah,
in
that's different.
India, you
That's
can
the thing.
buy a baby for $8,000. So it's
Yeah.
like they're definitely it's a different thing. But so how does he like them? Does he still
Yeah,
have them today?
So then after he went there, then he said, like, look, when he got there, a limo came by, picked him up, and then they were there for them. He had his own suite, he had room service and everything, and then they did the procedure. And then the way that they do it is, so you do have to get, when they see there, the side of your head, like, like the Captain Kirk, or Picard, where he has like the bald head in Star Trek, but then the side of the hair is good. It's
Oh,
the side of your hair has to be good enough that they can take the hair follicles out and put it on the top.
Huh.
So that's the way the procedure works. So they pull it out from the side, put it on the top, and they know where your bad hair follicles are. And then after that, when you go there, so I know that it's a brutal procedure and everything, but then that's where, so before that, you have to go to a dermatologist, and then that's where and I can go there now. I've been slacking, but that's where you get the finasteride and the minoxidil. And that's the two main components that you take from a dermatologist. And that can help your hair now. And you have to be on that before you even go to Turkey. Like, you want that in your hair. So then it helps with that procedure. So then that hair can survive. So that's where, like I said, the only time that you'll see me without a hat if I'm, at work, a wedding, or some event that it have to be that I can't wear a hat.
Will you show us now? I don't feel like your hair looks bad.
I mean, I don't
No,
know.
you
if I
look
have a little
good.
bit of
You
hat
look
here,
good. You
but
look
it's
fine.
it's
Okay.
hurting. It's hurting.
It's
It
not like
don't
you're
look
hiding. You're not
It's
hiding
not bad,
something.
bad.
I've seen people hiding. You're not really
No,
hiding.
but
That's
what I
not
told my
hiding.
wife is, like, I'm not gonna mess around. Like, if it gets to the point where it's so bad as you just said,
Yeah.
thankfully I'm
You've
a
waited too
burly
long.
dude.
Exactly.
Thankfully, like, I'm not like this skinny. Like, it's gonna look like I'm this cancer, like, kind of whatever. Like, thankfully I have the size.
Those
that
other
I'm
things
shaving.
do
I told her
matter.
I'm not gonna try to bullshit.
And
it.
imagine you
The
couldn't grow
second
a
it's
beard.
done,
Imagine
it's
you
done.
couldn't grow a beard.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Dude, if I couldn't grow a beard and I
No.
started to go bald,
Look,
I'd kill myself.
my heart is like in total agreement. I understand what you're saying. Can I just throw one thing out there?
Of course.
Sure, man.
We're all adults. No one gives a fuck. That's the thing.
Oh,
we
I get
all
it.
need
No,
to
it's more for
understand
me.
about
I like
everything
hair.
in
You
our
know what's
lives.
weird though?
No one
Okay.
really
A
cares.
valid point.
wanna-
And I do
wanna-
You know what I
agree.
mean?
I
I don't
will
anymore.
say,
That's what we need to
while
remind
no
ourselves.
one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
While no one gives a fuck.
Uh huh.
I can
Except for you give a fuck. I'm sorry, you give a fuck.
Well,
We-
no.
what-
I
That's
hear
a
what you're
good-
saying. So,
that's
so in
it.
that
Sorry.
point, and you're right. However, I see a guy with a extremely obvious comb over. I care. I care.
you're right.
Because I
Okay.
feel like I'm
Fair.
judging it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
bro, you're lacking awareness. You know what I mean?
But
like,
it's not the
you
comb
can't
over.
let this
Situational
go.
awareness.
It's so
fact
blatant.
just
It's just
that
like, bro,
he
everyone sees it.
feels-
Everyone knows what you're doing.
He feels not confident
That's
enough
what I'm
to say
saying.
it.
So
No,
it's-
I'm
that's what
with
I
you, dude.
feel.
I'm
I
with
feel
you.
that energy.
What's
We
crazy is
need
one
to
of my-
give him the fact that no one gives a fuck, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll like you no matter how.
We care only because you're trying to do this thing.
Yeah.
If
You're
it was
trying
not
to do a
that,
thing.
I
You're
would
trying
care
to do
less. Exactly.
100%.
That's a great point. If it was just balding or just shaved or just
Dude,
whatever,
for
I would care
sure,
way
dude.
less than the
Come
guy who
on.
has the
No one
three
can control-
strands that he
Well,
We don't
the whole
control
thing was
shit.
is, so I had one of my best friends, but like
Yeah, it's
his
elaborate.
younger brother, and then he was young too. Another one that I known, and he was trying. I was like, bro, just shave it. And then he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, he's a thicker dude. Like, he looked
Yeah.
good. And I was like, dude, just shave it. What are you doing? Like, just shave it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a
And he's like,
pentagram
I don't know.
tattoo
I was
or
like, well,
something.
then buzz it first, and then just shave it. You
Yup.
can always bick it, but I was like, just shave it down. And ever since then, he's been bold since. I mean, his dad was like,
That's the
and then-
move.
And
If
then
I
he's like,
started to
thank
go
you. Like,
bald-
dude, I look,
Dude, if I started to
it's
go
excellent.
bald, I've said this 100 times. If you start to go bald, you don't just shave it from long. You
No,
start
just
getting
trim-
shorter and
Yeah,
shorter
Fair,
haircuts, you know?
fair.
You start getting tighter
Yeah.
and tighter.
That's what
until,
I've been doing.
Yes, and then you buzz,
That's
and
what
then
I've
you
been
end up
doing,
just
yeah.
buzzing, and then you
100%.
that's you literally just have to,
The
because you can't
thing-
go from here, you know, Fabio, to just nothing. And
Sure, that's crazy.
Yes,
That's 100%
That's a
crazy.
drastic move. Have you done a best man speech before?
No, like I was telling you guys before we started
Yeah.
recording, I did. My sister asked me to speak at her first wedding,
Okay.
or every time you have to say first wedding. I heard a comedian say a joke one time. He's like, when I talk about my biological dad, which by the way means I had a shitty father. He's like,
that does make,
dude.
I guess
Dude, it's so
it's a
funny.
truthful
If
thing.
anyone
All right.
says the words by my biological father, it's like,
Yep.
oh, you had a shitty dad. Okay,
Yep.
it's just a
Good
funny
point.
ass joke. But
Perfect.
where am I bringing this from?
You talked to it about you did a speech for your sister's
Oh
wedding,
yeah,
the
I was
first
talking
one.
about the best man speech.
Yeah, I feel
My
pretty good
sister
about
asked me
myself.
to speak at her wedding, at her first wedding she had, and I didn't realize at the time I was young. I was like newly clean, I guess.
Yeah.
And I maybe not clean because I was drinking, but I wasn't on heavy drugs. And
Okay, there
she
we
asked
go.
me to
That's
speak at her
clean
wedding.
enough, clean
It was a
enough.
huge honor. She actually had me walk her down the aisle because it was after my dad had died.
Okay.
And that was a huge honor. I didn't realize how much of a responsibility the speech was.
Sure.
I didn't write a fucking word. I got drunk. I made the speech. I made it about me. I ended it with some internet quote that I said on the mic. Hey, this is some internet quote I got. And it was just like quick. No one really thought too much about it. But later on, I felt like this heavy, like, damn, dude, that was fucked up of me. I was talking about myself and shit. And it was just like, but then I got no best man speech ever than that. Most times people just invite me to their weddings because they think I'm going to have like a good time, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, even if, yeah. So, but I did get to speak at my pop's funeral, and
Okay.
that felt a little redeeming. But it's a lot of pressure to
Yes.
speak in front of a group of fucking people
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. So much pressure.
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, so I recently back in September, Ryan, so I was the best man for his wedding. And then he was the best man for mine. And then he did, if you guys know Ryan, like he's very structured, very like on point with everything. So he took that degree of being a best man to the umpteenth degree. So when he took his speech and everything so seriously and he was so structured and everything, I was like, that was one of the best man speeches I've ever heard. And I was
Wow.
like, shit. Then he asked me to be the best man because he's like, I'm going to return the favor to you. And I was like, all right.
You're like, I won't be
And
able
then
to
once when
you.
it came bad, and I was like, oh man. And then when you feel all that pressure and everything, and then it was funny. So there's a picture. I'll send it to you guys. But like my wife like snuck it in that like before I'm just sitting there, and you just see this like, and everyone was worried. All my friends like, I think he's gonna pass. Like something bad's gonna happen. And I was just locked in more so. I
Your
mean, it probably didn't look
testosterone
like
tunnel.
that. Probably didn't look like that. I probably looked like complete fear and then everything else. But I just wanted to get honed in.
Yeah.
But I was nervous wreck. But then once when I got up there, took it over and it
It's
was
a lot
fine.
of
It was
pressure,
fine.
man. It's
Yeah,
like this is
yeah.
their one day doing
Yeah.
this. This is them commiserating their love or whatever the
Yeah.
fucking word, you know. And it's like you have to be funny, heartfelt. You have to have an experience. You have to have,
Yeah.
you know, it's just a lot.
And then not too short, but then not too long, and then
Mhm.
that fine line,
Yeah.
and then just to find that in there, and then yeah, that's where it's tough. But after the army, so I told you I wanted to work at my dad's company, so I went to the army, and then all of a sudden I was like, you know what, I'm good on this. Like I don't want any part that you want to jump out of planes and go to combat and do this. And after I did it, I was like,
yeah,
yeah,
did
I
that.
don't want to do this
Yeah,
anymore.
Did it once.
And I
good.
was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I'll go back to my dad's. And then, so I started working there. Then I was in the field. Like we do industrial painting. And then we do, like water treatment plants, like secondary containment, like water, like just big time industrial type
Yeah.
things. And then, so it's just hard work, dude. It's just hard work. And then after doing that for a while, then I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, cause then I was getting worn down. And then after that, my dad was like,
The grind.
yeah. So then the grind came up. And then I told him that my wife and I, we were thinking about even potentially moving down to Texas. And then my dad was like, hey, what would you want to be a part owner in the company down the road? And I was like, I mean, I didn't think about that, but it was on my plate, but sure. And he's like, listen, and then, I mean, you guys see this big, just Italian dude from freaking Long Island, like, and he's like,
Huge dick.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Now, so where I guess where I get upset is like when people say that you heard that your father has his own company or anything. Sometimes it's miscued that sometimes they just give you the company,
Yeah, people don't
and
like
then
it
they
when
don't understand that.
that
Like,
you-
so everything's treated different. Yes, are there kids that just get their company from
Yeah.
their parents. Oh, 100%. And what do they do? Tank it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So my dad. So his famous saying is calling anyone a stunod. Like you're a stunod. Like don't like a stupid idiot in Italian.
Stunad?
Stunod.
Okay.
So he's like, don't be. He calls all stunods whenever he'd see us and everything. But the number one thing that he told me is like, he's like, if you want to be part ownership, he's like, quote for quote, like, I ain't giving you 25% of this fucking company if you don't prove to me that you deserve to own it.
Sure.
And then I was like, all right, so what? And then I was like, all right, so what do I have to do? What do I have to do? And then, so when I was working in the field, like, great, you had 11 years of field experience, but I was like, I need to get into the office side.
Right.
And then, so Anne Arundel County was offering that, like, I found schooling that they can do construction estimating because that's where I had to learn estimating. So that's where I learned, like, they had a course. So they had 2 courses of blueprint reading, estimating, and everything else. And
Man,
so I
that's
went to
kinda nice.
college. So I went to college, did that, and then so during that,
You had to
then-
enroll in college and all to do that?
yeah. So it wasn't. So it's a non-accredited course.
Okay.
And then, but then that's where he said the drive. Like, what drives you? I could have
Mhm.
just said no, or I'll find something else. So that's when my son was young. So I would stay up or until he went to bed around 8, hang out with my wife because that's still very important. Around 9 or so to have
You
the
keep
wife
telling me
time.
how important it is.
No. I
No,
mean,
I
you
know,
wanna,
I know.
and then after that, I'd do college from like 9 till like 11 or midnight, and then wake up I was still working in the field, so I'd wake up at 4:30 or something, and I'd be doing that,
Yeah.
and that was over 6 months of then so that driver, I guess that we were talking about. So I had like, if you find something, and then if you have that motivation in you, then you can do that. And then so I did that long enough, and then that was the whole thing, I guess, where the military taught me like. They'll get you to your breaking point, and that's where certain branches or whatever you do, I promise you, like whatever you guys have felt. I know you've done a lot of hiking and then all your other stuff, and like if you have reaching your breaking point, I promise you can go lower. Whatever you felt,
Yeah.
dog shit down, and then the military, depending on what you did, but especially like the army, like or just being there, like they will break it. Like you have to be that mentally strong, that mentally prepared, and that mentally focused in order to get to that next level.
Yeah, I've said that I feel like almost everyone should go to boot camp, but no one
Yeah.
should go to war.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like,
no.
My take is like,
I just believe
go
yeah.
do the hard
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, don't have to kill anyone. you
No,
know, but
yeah. But
obviously,
I
yeah,
believe I believe in that so much. And then
How
just,
long's boot camp?
So
Less than a bachelor's degree.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
that.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, you know.
so it was funny. So at the time, so my girlfriend at the time, I was like, oh, I'll be gone because the normal basic training is 9 weeks. Well, I did infantry. Infantry has your AIT, so that's like after training is when usually you do 9 weeks of basic training, then you go to your AIT. So whatever your MOS, your job, you do that for however X long that is. Well, infantry, they just clump it all in. So you're at basic training. So mine ended up being 14 weeks long that I didn't know about. And then
They were
but yeah,
constantly
so then that
extending
was
your
brutal.
shit.
Yeah. And then during that time, not to like sound like old, like back in my day, but no, back in that time, dude, they could be brutal to you. Like they could it was very hard. Like now, I know that it's like a little bit softer. Now they're trying to get a little bit harder, but back then, dude, it was
Yeah.
just brutal.
Yeah.
Like they could just break you down. Like they had like, so red phase, and if you're allowed to get smoked, that's where they just make you do like push-ups, flutter kicks, do whatever. Like that's
You said
just
if you're
called
allowed?
smoking. What?
If you're allowed to get smoked?
No, that's just what it's called.
Oh, okay.
That's what it's called. When you
Okay,
get punished,
Got it.
it just
Getting smoked.
smoked. And then they would just for hours on end, and I remember that, like just hours on end, and just have like your own puddle of sweat is just beneath you. They just smoke you all day, hours.
And have you
hours.
done something to have been smoked? Or is it
No,
just
I've never caused that. The one time that I got
You got smoked?
no, so I told
Come
this.
on, brother.
I told this story.
We're honest here.
No, I know. So I told this story. And then a drill sergeant overheard, but in my story, it kind of had this noise. And then the drill sergeant overheard it. He's like, what the fuck was that noise? He came out all pissed off. And he's like, toe to line. And they have like this blue tape line. And he makes everyone go up to the line. He's like, toe to fuck, what was that noise?
For a
What was
noise
that
you made with your
noise?
mouth?
And then it was just this well, I was telling a story, and then just kind of part of the story, and then he wanted to know where this noise came from, and then we had this
Bro, how
slower kid,
bizarre.
and then we had this slower kid, and he's like, it was me, drill sergeant. He's like, what was the fucking noise? And he's like, shut the fuck up. And then he like just smoked them, and then we got smoked for like hours.
Damn, this
on
other
end.
kid took the L for you?
No, and then they made a so during that time, yeah, if you did fuck up, now I never did anything that bad, but if you had like they had the soap parties where you put soap
In the sock?
in your
Bag?
pillowcase,
Oh, yeah, pillowcase.
and you'd beat the fuck out of people, dude. If they
I think
make
I
you
saw that
do
in Full Metal Jacket, yeah.
no, that's that was back then. I mean, now you'd probably I don't know.
That was
Yeah.
just you and the other people in your, what do you call it?
That was in our well, not our unit,
Company?
our company,
Battalion?
yeah, our company.
Something.
It wasn't like any
Now
of
that
them.
was during basic training. Once when you get to your unit,
Sergeants
right,
and shit didn't know about that, right? That was just between you and the other.
oh yeah.
It
Yeah,
Let's
you
say
just find the trans person and beat them to death with soap,
Yeah, that was a
apparently.
bit there back then. Yeah.
Yeah, that was before they were allowed. Now it's only allowed. No, now back to not allowed or something. It's like it depends. Every regime change.
A lot of it's like the mental health side of that is like, so it all depends. Is like the biggest fucked up part is like, how can everyone compartmentalize? Like, not everyone knows how you can compartmentalize, and no one, you can't train for that, right?
Well, and it's different for
So
every
nobody
person.
ever knows.
Yeah, and
So
it's
when I
different.
try to say is like, so when you see some of these vets, you have some people that they experience even like they just seen an explosion or heard, like you
heard
hear
it,
people.
yeah.
So at the FOBs where it happened all the time, we would get mortar fire attacks or anything, like the sirens would go off. You'd kind of hear them from a distance or anything, but that's enough to make people just kill themselves. Like,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
you have other people that can be in combat, been in multiple firefights, done it all, and are fine. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not all the way, but they're
No, but I
at
know what
least
you mean.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and it's because you can't
They're
predict
fine.
it. And one of the quotes I'll say that I've said on here before: trauma isn't what happened to you; it's how you respond to it.
Yes.
It's how your
Yeah.
nervous system responds.
Yeah.
They don't choose that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if they're being fully honest,
Yeah.
it's like something happened and it dysregulated their nervous system so much that anything that's even remotely close to that, their nervous system gets dysregulated. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like it doesn't, and it's all relative. You know, to
and
one
then that's
thing
what
to
I
one
try to
person
tell
is a different
people
thing
is
to
like
another
where I
person.
say that I'm very fortunate, is like I said, in everything that I've experienced is like I'm just able to be one of those that like it hasn't like I've lost. So since we went to Iraq, I've lost way more brothers being back and just committed suicide than even being over there.
Damn,
and then
that's
that's
a
just
rough
how
fact.
hard. Yeah.
Damn, that's rough.
And then that's
mean,
what
yeah,
sucks.
it
Like
makes
to me, that
sense,
is
but
the most
That's devastating.
shittiest part of
You're not
of
even
everything.
losing them
I'm like-
in the war. You're
and then it's in my company and everything, and like that's where
In
like
your
my
country.
brothers,
yeah,
yeah,
back
and
home.
then this is where I went to war with, and then coming back, and then just being in the States, have killed. Like that's where the mental side, and that's
Bro,
what I just
that's
try to
dark, man. The most of the deaths.
say, and that's where Ashley knows that, and that's where I try to
Back home
tell
with
her
their
like
own hands.
like to say that this, and that's where it's just the hardest thing. That's what I try to say with mental health and awareness, and that's what I was trying to say with like even the TRT or doing it. That's what I'm saying, but all just kind of circulates back together of how I feel is just to make sure you're doing everything
I
you
agree.
can,
and especially as a man.
and then everything that you're doing, even like when you're just trying to find a light, or everything that you do in your experiences,
It's for
but you're
improvement.
just trying. That's what I'm saying.
It's self-improvement, no matter what that looks like you're saying. Yeah,
I
Whether
see it
it's-
as that every
it
time,
is,
or
it
wherever
is,
you have
it
one that
is.
have all those experiences, that's all you're doing. You're improving or trying to find something.
and that's a great point because it can look so different. It could be
Yes.
this for one person, it could be this for the other. But at the end of the day, the goal is how can I be a better Justin than I was before?
Yes.
You know, and talking
Yeah.
to people and hearing their ideas and bouncing my ideas off of people and having them go like, well, that's
Yeah.
a shit idea. Or have you thought about it this way? Which is a more polite way to say that's a shit
Yeah.
idea. You know, it's just
Yeah.
like the conversations have helped me grow so much. You know, I've had
Yes.
conversations with people who are like, hey, I'm going through this thing. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. It's really tough, you know, yada,
Mhm.
yada. And they're like, I had someone recently say, this conversation is part of my healing, you know?
Yes.
And it's like you're right, because it's like one of the most underrated things of healing is saying your story to any human being, regardless
Yeah.
of professional or not, being seen, being heard, being felt. Those little human
Yes.
things, man, that's healing.
Yeah, and then that's where I told everyone was like my biggest thing that helped me was that I just told stories like, or not stories, but I told what happened to me,
Yeah,
and I guess I said it so much that I guess in my head,
it
And then
desensitizes it a bit.
and then it made it into a story. That's what I said. I even said a story.
Yeah,
and
it
then that
seems
just what
surreal.
kinda
It's like,
helped
because it
is, like,
separates
just
you
to
from it a bit.
Yes.
You're like, this is a story.
Yeah.
that I'm telling.
Yeah, and then that's the whole thing is, and then the other thing too is the mindset. Like you can have the mindset like, but I knew what I was signing up for. Like
Yeah.
some of these people,
Right, acting like
and
you
then
didn't
their
know.
mind. Yeah, I mean, and then that's
You
just
knew
the
you weren't
sad
coming over
part.
here to hug this government into
I know,
compliance.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. So, and
Cuddle
then, but I
puddles.
knew exactly what I was signing up for. I knew what I was gonna do, and I knew what every time I go out for a mission, that's what the hell I was gonna do. And then that's where I just never let it overtake me, I guess, in that aspect of once when I came back to stateside. Now in Iraq side, like I had my girlfriend, I found out like she cheated on me, and then I got kind of broken up, and like, dude, I'd be on missions and like not in the right place. I was even telling my parents,
that's another
like,
crazy part. You're
dude,
human doing those things.
Yeah, and then like, dude, I remember being on like just driving the Humvee. I was on the 50 cal, and I'd just be like not checking my I put everyone's life in danger,
right.
But just because you're not in that right mental
yeah,
place,
and you're a
then,
human.
like,
Imagine, your dad dies, your girl breaks up with you, you
Yeah.
find out someone cheat. I mean, and then you got to like, hey, go do this thing. It's like,
yeah,
well,
go do this mission,
my
and then
heart's
you're like,
broken.
fuck this, yeah. So that's where, that's where just try to take care of yourself as much as you can, and just be out there and talk. But I think more so what's helped me, and then what I've seen that helps a lot of people is just talking or experiencing, and then trying to find the people to relate. So a lot of
That
veterans,
too. Know your
where they
audience.
find struggling with, or even my wife has told me, she's like, just go talk to somebody. I'm like, to what? Like, not anyone. And even when you go to the VA, there's not this infantry person or this that's been in combat arm, that has done what I've done.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to relate. Like, and then so the relatability, like, to me, but thankfully doesn't eat me up too bad.
It doesn't, but it's
just,
isolating.
But it's
is
isolating that I can't talk. Like, they're like, just talk. And that's the
To
other thing
who?
when people have any issues and like just talk about it. I'm like, yeah, but if you can't relate to me, I
Yeah.
don't really want to talk about
Well, that's
it.
like some of the psychedelic things I've done, where it's
Sure.
just so few people have done it, where it's like,
Yeah.
just talk about it. It's like, yeah, but people are just going to be hearing me. They're just going to be like, wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they can't say, oh, I did the thing and then I felt this way.
No, and then I
Very
thought it
rare.
was very cool, like when you had other guests on that have done what you've done,
Yeah.
the booth and everything, and I'm just like, oh, cool, like they're talking the same way, like, so
Yeah,
kind of
you
what you're
notice
saying.
that.
So if I'm around vets
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking about
Exactly.
what you talk about, we're talking about the same. So
You can
anyone
tell
that's
what
been
you-
in those groups,
right.
and that's why they have those groups, those health groups.
Right.
And that's another thing. Again, being a man, when you want to be all tough, just go to these groups. Just talk,
Yeah.
like, find a way.
I can do
if
it
you're not
alone.
helping.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
And you can notice with me and Dave, is like we're speaking the same language.
Yeah, when you guys, that's what I'm saying. Your
doing-
podcast, that was
we're
cool.
like, okay, we get.
I thought that was cool.
It
You
was
guys were
cool.
bouncing off, and
Yeah.
you're on the same wavelength.
Yep.
And
do
then
the
you're
same
talking.
type of shit. Yeah, it was easier to be like, all right, so let me. And they're just such fun stories.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like fucking. Yeah.
Well, the Bufo and all that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Well, that
I mean,
wasn't that
I
fun, but his stories on tripping. But
Yeah.
I love you. I'd love to talk to you
Hell
for
yeah.
12 hours,
We're
but
good.
yeah, we did it, and we can't have these people getting too much content.
Oh yeah, I'll be back on.
Yeah, you'll be back. We got plenty more to talk about. Tune in next week for everybody's favorite mediocre podcast. Thanks, Charles. Appreciate you. Let me
Hell
get
yeah.
an Unreal. Let me get one.
Unreal.
Thank you. Trying to get one organically on the. If this doesn't work, I'll kill myself.
Damn.